This chart reading is for Monday, March 11th, 1996 at 10 o'clock a.m. in Los Angeles, California. And so I'm putting the chart on the screen. If you don't know what it means, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's mostly for me. I just like to show you what I'm looking at when I do this. So first of all, um, so this person has Sun in Pisces, Moon in Sagittarius, Gemini rising, and so you're triple mutable, which means that you're very easygoing, very flexible, very open minded. You are generally just happy going along with what everyone else is doing, easygoing. You probably have like many different types of interests or many different sides to your personality. You could be a little bit indecisive. You could have trouble like you could have like boundary issues just because you're so flexible and easygoing that you kind of go with whatever people are doing. You might be a little bit gullible, um, but you're probably very emotional, very kind, compassionate. You probably are open minded. You could talk to people from all different walks of life. You probably have an interesting life story. You probably like traveling a lot or trying new things. Um, your your parents may have like either not known you very well, which sounds weird, but they might have like expected something from you that maybe wasn't in line with who you were, or they might have not understood you very well, and so this kind of makes this party like the result is that you have a hard time relating to yourself. You're probably very empathic. You um, understand other people very well, and you sort of find yourself in other people. You sort of figure yourself out by being in relationships or just by being around people in general. You understand other people a lot better than you understand yourself, maybe. Um, but in general, you would be received very well, and especially in public or in your career, people would generally like you in public. You'd have a good reputation, probably. And I'm saying that because you have all the planets. Most of the planets were visible in the sky. They were high up, so that means that you, um, like, I see that in celebrities charts a lot. So it's good for having a good reputation. Or also another thing is that when you were a kid, you were probably very outgoing, very extroverted. You may have felt like you were on display or felt like you didn't have enough privacy or like your emotions were on display, and it might have been uncomfortable, but um, that could lead to like you becoming very good at handling attention, very good at handling the limelight, or composing yourself in public, that you would be very good with all that attention. As a kid, you're probably very fiery, very outgoing, very extroverted. You probably didn't like being told what to do. You probably like maybe a little bit of a rebellious child, and in general, I see that you would probably start your life out very outgoing and extroverted, a little bit bossy, precocious. You'd figure things out very easily. Figure out what the adults are doing and stuff. You'd in general you'd start your life out very extroverted, and then as you age, you would actually get a little bit more laid back or a little bit more just observant, more chill. You are chill, like you're flexible, but you could have a temper a little bit at times. You might you might get like really upset really quickly in a certain situation, but then a little bit later, not even really understand why you're upset, or like it could kind of fluctuate a little bit, if that makes sense. Like you could get really heated over certain things. But I do think you're a kind, compassionate person. You feel what other people feel. You just seem like a very passionate person. Uh, and I got kind of sidetracked, but so there's a contradiction that maybe you'll understand, but I see something saying that your dad wasn't there, so either was physically absent or was maybe mentally absent, like he was had addiction issues or something. Um, but then I also see something saying that your dad was very present and very important in your life. So I don't know if somehow your dad could have been simultaneously present but also not present somehow, maybe like off and on, or maybe like your biological dad was gone, but then your stepdad was very important, or something like that. Something combining, like your dad was somehow very present yet also not present. So I don't know if that makes sense. Your career, you look like you definitely work with people. You're very socially intelligent, and you're a good communicator, and yeah, people understand you in public, like I was saying, or in your career. So, and I also see that you'd either be working with people one on one or working with groups of people, and working with people from all different walks of life. Um, yeah, that's really clear to me. I think that your job, your career or your job would be very social in its nature. Um, let's see, and Gemini rising, you probably like music a lot. You're a passionate person. You probably have many different various interests. You probably like people who are different than you in general. You probably like meeting people. Um, it probably it wouldn't offend you to meet someone who has a different opinion than you. You'd probably find that kind of interesting to just associate with, you know, various different kinds of people that have different friends from different backgrounds, stuff like that. That would be intriguing to you. Um, okay, and then I think you'd be attracted to someone if you're female, presumably male, but either way, um, you'd probably be attracted to, I want to say someone kind of introverted, but I feel like that's wrong though. But I'm just saying that because you have Venus and Taurus, which is introverted, Mars and Pisces. You want a you want to date a person. Well, first of all, in general, you want to be in relationships. I would say, like I said earlier, you sort of figured yourself out in relationships. You probably feel more comfortable in a romantic relationship, and you'd probably want to be with someone who is kind of emotional like you are, someone sincere and kind. And if you're interested in men, you probably don't care a lot if a guy is like super macho. You want someone relatable and someone who is maybe even a little bit sensitive, or you know, kind of compassionate like you are, someone like a decent human being, a nice guy maybe. um and yeah, that's who you're like attracted to in a man, um, assuming you're interested in men. And if you're, oh, in the long term, you need someone who is definitely sensitive, like probably someone in touch with their emotions, but also someone who is free spirited and likes to go on adventures, or have fun experiences. Someone like you might date a Sagittarius in the long term, or someone with Sagittarius qualities. So if you're not into astrology, so that would mean like someone who is kind of adventurous, like I was saying, or free spirited. Someone who is in touch with their emotions. Someone a little bit fiery. Someone that you could relate to, who's also sensitive, kind, um, but also likes to have fun, go for an adventure, stuff like that. You probably like traveling a lot. I think I said that already. Um, what else? Okay, I touched on a lot of stuff already. You're probably good at being confident. You're probably good at being assertive. You're good at that, but as you age, you should you'll also learn to be more chill, like I was saying, more of an observer. Uh, you might learn more so how to like work with your hands, like in a craft of some sort, either like writing, drawing, editing, something. Something that's kind of passive in nature. Uh, you might be, as you age, you might be more inclined toward activities like that, or pursuits like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but um, and I mean, all the planets were in the sky when you were born, so you're people kind of get you kind of easily. You might be like a people person. People would understand you, or feel like they understand you pretty well. you have Venus in the 12th in Taurus, so like you probably make money pretty well, but and you might like hide it or something, or you might have some kind of like hidden pleasure or like a guilty pleasure or some secret hidden good food that you like or hidden something that you do for fun that you don't tell other people, something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, or like a hidden bank account or something, some kind of pleasure or fun or money that you keep on the down low or something. Um, this year in 2020, you're having your Jupiter return. Your Jupiter is in 8th house Capricorn, so you might inherit like large amounts of money this year in general, or receive something to do with taxes, loans, savings accounts, something fortunate with money that you're receiving from other people. It could also just mean that you're just having a lucky year in general. So, even considering the situation going on, I would say that uh, it's probably worked out for you anyway, somehow. Like, you're having a relatively lucky year somehow. Hopefully. So, hopefully that makes sense. Um, Also, okay, I don't want to make it sound bad, but in the future, okay, so everyone sort of has this experience in their late 20s, like 28, 29, 30, where they have to mature a lot because of the Saturn return. And yours is going to start a little bit early and it's going to be intense for a long time. So from like you maybe 25 or 26 all the way to age 30 or so, you're going to mature a lot in a relatively short time. Even though that will feel like a long time, but you're gonna have experiences that will challenge you a lot in your life, but you'll mature a lot. You'll become a lot more independent and mature. You'll be mature in the area of how you relate with other people, and it could have to do with spirituality or maybe sleep if you have any sleep issues or like how you're resting or not resting. Maybe you have insomnia issues, or maybe you have issues with sleeping too much, or issues with escapism or something. Something like that where you would mature a lot in those areas and just in general, from age like 25 to 30. Um, um, and what else? You're very socially intelligent, very passionate, very emotional. I think I said all this stuff already. Um, Throughout your life, you might just randomly travel very far in very short, like with very short notice. That might just happen throughout your life at different times. Uh, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but what else? I think I covered pretty much everything. Your dad might have been violent. I feel weird saying stuff like that because it's like hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully everything is fine, but um, there's this sort of violent or really assertive energy with your son, with your father, and with your ego, and that's where you get the temper from. If you do have a temper, or you could, or at the very least, you would at least be able to assert yourself maybe during certain times, really well considering you're a Pisces, because most Pisces don't really have that as much. Um, Also, so Pisces in general is very emotional and very you might get carried away in your emotions in general just because with the Sagittarius moon and you have a lot of planets in Pisces, so very emotional. But that could be a good thing too if you like use it. You could be very emotionally intelligent, so you could be kind of intuitive too. You could use that to your advantage, and you could be really passionate about things, so that could be really powerful too. Um, and you might be attracted to unpopular opinions, or you might be open-minded to things that most people aren't open-minded to, like astrology would be an example of that, or maybe just unpopular political opinions, or something involving like believing in or learning about certain things that are kind of against the norm or against what society accepts. You'd be open-minded toward something like that, if that makes sense. um and you might not, like, people do understand you really well, but it might not you might have some kind of challenge with communicating or writing or speaking, um, but you could definitely overcome that. You could learn, and it's just that you think a little bit differently than most people. You think um, you're kind of intuitive, or you think like I don't know how to phrase that. Like instead of being super analytical, you kind of think with your emotions in a way. Like you have almost like you're intuitive a little bit, I guess I could say, or you kind of just feel your way through situations and people. So if that makes sense. So because of that, you might just have a little bit of trouble with like writing or like grammar or something. But if you wanted to for whatever reason, you could definitely overcome that, and you would just have your own style to it. And again, you'd be communicating about subjects that maybe aren't widely accepted by society, if that makes sense. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. Sort of everyone within our whole age group, anyone born in like the early 90s, is having their beliefs and their view of the world like challenged right now. I guess you could kind of say that about everybody to some extent, but um, having their beliefs kind of reshaped at this time during like 2020, and for you it'll go into 2021, uh, sort of changing your perspective of the world. Which I guess that sounds kind of obvious now that I say it, but I could see that in your chart. Um, Sorry about my cat. I think I pretty much said everything. Yeah. Yeah, you'd have good luck working with groups of people. Yeah, I think one of your biggest strengths. Well, I think like two of my favorite things would be your passion. You seem a super passionate person, just like open minded. Open minded to people. And then also it's powerful how I think you'd be a good like leader, or just good in your career, good in public, uh, good at being accepted in public, stuff like that. So that's one of your biggest strengths, I think. Let me know if any of this was right, because I don't know. I'm just reading your chart. I don't know anything about you, um, so yeah. Hopefully that was interesting. Yeah. Let me know what you think. Thanks.